Welcome back. Well, as the GNU takes shape as a result of the May elections, that certainly put a spanner in the works for most, if not all, political parties. And reaction has been quite varying depending on which side you're on. Most importantly, how you voted, if you even voted. Many narratives have been brought to focus and a wide range of criticism meted out in the recent weeks in relation to who came out trumps in terms of these elections. And Mr. Sipho Pityana, the former convener of Safe South Africa, thinks Cyril Ramaphosa is the overall victor, and he now joins us via a video link to further unpack this view. Mr. Pityana, great having you with us. Thank you so much for joining us. Look, I read your op-ed and you extensively outlined why you say that President Cyril Ramaphosa outmaneuvered the opposition as well as his naysayers. So briefly, for the benefit of our viewers, take us through some of your most critical points in this regard.
Good afternoon, Alicia, and to your viewers. Thank you very much for inviting me. I guess this is not a moment to look for who won and who lost, but the point is this, that this is a moment for leadership. And the president, in this instance, showed incredible leadership, because many in his position would be complaining about how they lost or denying the results or challenging the results. But he took the bull by the horns, accepted that his party had lost the election, in that it got less than 50% for the first time in 30 years, and exercised leadership, being the largest, single largest party nonetheless, and galvanized everybody to say this may be the way forward in terms of coming together. And I suggest that he seized the strategic initiative, in the sense that others were posturing. I raised issues with regard to the DA's attitude with regard to this process, in that it sought to be a co-governor instead of endearing itself to everybody in the way that President Ramaphosa did, as well as how the EFF also sought to be a co-governor with the ANC, and indeed the MK party, which is the third largest party, also sought to try to undermine the entire process. But certainly the decisive intervention by President Ramaphosa has set the country on a promising course.
Now, you also mentioned a very interesting point, Mr. Pityana, that coalitions, and I quote, coalitions are sustainable only in conditions where leadership shows maturity and has a realistic sense, close quote. And that, of course, open quote, that the bigger battle still lie ahead, as some in the arrangement wrongly still assume that they may be able to pursue the exclusive positions, as we've seen recently. So, Mr. Pityana, I want to hear from you. Do you foresee this arrangement as a GNU or a coalition or grand coalition? And then secondly, with this in mind, do you see it as a long-term arrangement, and that we should look at Ramaphosa as a political genius for having navigated the treacherous waters of putting together this government against all circumstances that you highlight in your op-ed?
Well, clearly, the journey to where we are, which is certainly establishing a government, has been quite a treacherous one, in that there have been very conflicting positions, and the nation expected the largest party in the ANC to show maturity. One of the greatest achievements of this period is that the ANC, for the first time, certainly President Ramaphosa has come to publicly acknowledge that he's the president of the country. For his entire first term, he was too preoccupied with being the president of the ANC and the leader of the ANC. So his language has changed. I think that the electoral outcome has sobered him and humbled him, and he has accepted that. So he's showing what it means to be a leader of the nation, in that he is quite accommodating, even in most difficult circumstances. We hope that currency will continue, because that's what the country needs, as many are posturing, trying to outmaneuver the other. And yet the urgent matter for the country is the agenda to pursue growth and crime, alleviate poverty, and enable South Africa to regain its position in the international system.
And then with the situation that happened here in Gauteng, what are some of your views in relation to looking at the overall arrangement between those big, or should we call them the big three within the governing, within the party, or rather the GNU, Mr. Pityana?
Well, one can't help but take a view that the Democratic Alliance somewhat is seeking to claw back on what it lost at the national negotiating table and is insisting on trying to regain its lost ground, if you like, in the national negotiations. And I would suggest that that's an immature way of looking at this. After all, the greatest benefit of this arrangement stems from what you have at national, cascading in all the provinces, and use it and leverage it to sort out the mess in coalitions that we've seen at the local government level. Anybody who disrupts that is likely to be punished by the electorate, either at local government level or at national level. Certainly, one remains nervous about the efficacy of a hurried move, perhaps, on the part of the ANC to form a government in the face of a disgruntled major party. It doesn't matter whether the disgruntlement is reasonably placed or not. I happen to believe that it's not, but nonetheless, it required more patience to try and make sure that you bring everybody on board. Certainly, given their size, they remain a significant party, and therefore, the way this would work is if we have consistency at all spheres of government. The example of what happened in KwaZulu-Natal with the IFP certainly is one that we must draw lessons from and try to make sure that we follow the tone that has been set at national.
A very quick one before I let you go, Mr. Pityana. I see you in the car there traveling somewhere. Do you feel that this administration will actually be able to save South Africa, a cause that has always been, of course, close to your heart?
I am hopeful that we are at a place now where the arrogance of power would have been tempered by this electoral outcome. South Africans have saved the country in the way that they have voted. The leadership has got to show itself to be mature and indeed put the interest of the country first and stop being petty. The agenda for the desperation of the nation to get us out of the quagmire that we're in is quite palpable.
All right, Mr. Pityana, thank you so much for your input this afternoon. Mr. Sipho Pityana, a former convener for Save South Africa.